We continue with our budget update with the views of the millennials and the nation. And this time we have Kiran Mathur, who's your guest, Rishi.
Yes, and he's from what I understand, a very brilliant young man. He's a businessman, an economist, a columnist.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much. High praise. I don't know if it's all deserved.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Kiran, Mohammed, good morning and welcome. So the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, would have presented the media review on Monday. When you heard what he said, talking about the economy recovering, how we address the BP gas situation, what are your general thoughts?
So I think the first thing to consider about the media review is the context that it's coming in. It's coming in after 2 or 3 years of very, very serious recession, where you had in 2015 a massive drop-off in oil prices, and also after several years of continuing falls in gas production. So out of that, of course, the government has had to make these very tough decisions, particularly to do with Petrotrin and some of the state enterprises. So I think this media review is very much the minister saying, right, we're out of that. And of course, the timing definitely appropriate with an election next year. Now, of course, literally a week before that, BP made this announcement that one of their infill wells has effectively failed to produce as much as it did, and that's gotten a lot of press. So the minister went into it with a host of press against him there. Now, of course, he rose to meet that in a very strong way, and to some extent he does have a point when in the media review he said, look, I think there's been a lot of talk about a fall-off in gas production, but if you look at the numbers, actually what we've been seeing is that gas production has been rising more recently. So that's interesting when you look at it in the broader context.
But do you agree with the price increase to gas from $2.75 to $3, and the decrease in the price for oil from $65 to $60 in this presentation?
Yeah, so in terms of the gas price, I mean, that's definitely in line with the overall macroeconomic situation, where you're seeing considerable fall-offs in production across several markets, more instability in the Middle East, more instability in Venezuela. So I do think that that's something that is warranted. But in terms of the recovery overall, I think, and how that has been framed, I think a big part of that is trying to tap into people's psyche and the people's sentiment about the economy. So I've been talking to a lot of people, doing a lot of research over the past few months for my series in the Newsday. Actually, I'm going to meet some of the prisoners on Saturday, if they're still there. But effectively, one of the things that has come out of this is that sentiment has changed. Whereas people, of course, there was a lot of resentment about some of the tough decisions that were being taken, particularly about Petrotrin. I think there is a real fundamental change in the national psyche, where you're seeing young people in particular are now saying, okay, right, maybe we don't need to look to the media review, we don't need to look to the budget to sort of to give us jobs. We're creating it ourselves, and so they're going out on their own in the market and trying to make the best of the situation.
As you say that, I'm thinking, how have you seen them doing that, young people?
I think entrepreneurship is a big thing. People are like even sort of very little from making things like I've talked to people who are doing kefir juice, and I've talked to people who are building out sort of large-scale agricultural farms. I think young people are saying, right, look, we're not going to wait. The gas prices could move wherever. Gas production could move wherever. But to some extent, right, that's happening outside of our sphere of influence. And so instead of being dependent on it, we're going to start taking control.
So you see that level of diversification then from the young people. Are you seeing that? Because we've been hearing about this diversification thing for a long time.
I think we are, and I think we are also. One thing to remember is that for a lot of young people, the first time they've been entering the economy has been in a recession. It's all they knew, and this is after 20 years of almost constant growth. So I think that really, and this is true of millennials entering in the financial crisis globally as well. It's very much part of the millennial psyche dealing with a recessionary climate. It's actually quite similar to how people acted in the Great Depression back in the 40s.
So this should be good for us as a country moving forward then, if we can, as young people, can navigate out of this and become successful.
Oh, definitely. I think there's that saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I think people are, this is, politicians in particular have been very worried about taking tough decisions because they've been worried about the political implications. But I think in many cases they've realized that they had been underestimating actually sort of not only the intelligence of a lot of people in Trinidad, but I think the willingness to make sacrifices. And I think they will find that the people do appreciate that sacrifices need to be made, and now is the time to come together in solidarity, but also move forward on their own.
Yeah, because we didn't hear much about employment or the unemployment rate really in Trinidad and Tobago, and anything that is really being done to generate a lot of employment, with the exception of some capital projects that are ongoing and some to start. Where do you see young people getting jobs for those who aren't, driven towards creating their own business?
Right. So I think a big part of it is also talking about the crisis. What we're seeing is a lot of local companies are very much changing their approach. Trinidad has long been dominated by distributors. We have historically imported pretty much everything. And we're finding that a lot of distributors are saying now, look, we can't get foreign exchange, we're going to manufacture. And what we're also seeing is a lot of traditional manufacturers are saying, right, we are going to open subsidiaries in other countries and partner throughout the region and look outward for growth. And I think it's through those opportunities that if people are a little flexible and maybe saying, okay, right, I graduated in this, but I may not be able to do that. But there may be a new opportunity in a field totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Then there are still opportunities.
Yeah, so there are opportunities. Lisa, you see opportunities for young people here?
Absolutely, because I interact with a lot of millennials, yeah? And the fact is that millennials cut through the noise, as you were saying, Kiran, and they operate outside of the matrix, so to speak, and identify opportunities not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but internationally. Because of the internet and so on, you can now do business anywhere in the world and operate from anywhere in the world and make money anywhere in the world. So the dependency on, as you were saying, an oil economy or so, millennials don't necessarily see that. They operate and they do so many things. And you're saying that where do the jobs come? That's the other thing. Millennials don't really see themselves as working for anybody. They see themselves as working for themselves and creating opportunities for themselves. And I think it's not necessarily about millennials, perennials, whatever, but a millennial mindset, a millennial culture, so that you may not be of the millennial generation in terms of age, but in terms of mindset, you can be successful because you have that new mindset. So I was listening to you, Kiran, and I was just smiling in the corner there because I'm saying, yes, this is where it is. This is where it is. This is where you have to be now. This is the space where you have to be now. So thank you so much for coming on the program, Kiran, and sharing your views with us.
And we definitely have him on at some point again.
Yeah,
when we continue to talk about different things.
Very refreshing. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Kiran Mohammed, economist, columnist, businessman, for coming on this morning. We're going to take a break and come back with more. Stay with us.